And actually, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because I know me.
You know, so that's our life mission. That's the McShin's mission.
So you don't have to understand my boundaries to respect them.
Well, no, I'm the president and co-founder of McShin, a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorders.
How do you go about fixing the damage in the trust between the family after you get out?
Okay, I gotta work on that.
Celebrating my 6 months. Didn't have a cake.
Yeah.
Gosh, you showed up.
Hello, folks. John Shenos here from the McShin Foundation, bringing you another live episode of Getting Heard. Tonight we're at the Henrico County Jail East facility on behalf of Sheriff Alicia Gregory, which we appreciate you always having us in here, Sheriff. You'll hear from her in a minute. But before we get going, just want to remind folks watching this video that we need your help at McShin. Feel free to go to our homepage and make a contribution for us to make this program possible. This stuff don't fall out of the air and it ain't free, and we need all the help we can get. Also want to remind folks, you got the upcoming holiday season. We got some really good events coming up. We're going to have a Care Talk at McShin on November 25th at 6 o'clock. We're going to have 8 wonderful speakers, short speakers, and they're going to tell us how they're going to stay clean and sober during the holidays. So we got a lot of activities going on during the holidays. We're also going to have an open house on Thanksgiving Day at the McShin Foundation, open to the public. And on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, we'll have meetings around the clock during that period too. So you will have a place to go, something to do. You will have that connection to the recovering community. So don't think you don't have nowhere to go this holiday season, because we do got you covered. You know, we come down here in Marshall, and we're both old-timers in recovery. We've been doing this a long time. I've been going to jail programs and meetings over 40 years now, and I really love to do it. It's a labor of love. Over the years, I get to meet a lot of folks. They come in here, they hear the message, they get outside, they stay clean and sober, they get their life straight. Some of them come back. I got a couple people going to holler at you tonight. That's their exact story. So I got a couple really good speakers coming here. One, we heard from Jeb, but I want him to say hello to the rest of the folks for a minute. Then Mandie, you'll hear from. Marshall, what we got? This is my co-host, Marshall Tucker. Got a famous name. I know he likes to say hello to the new folks up on the gun walk.
Yeah, my name is Marshall. My name is Marshall. I'm a person in long-term recovery, meaning that I haven't used in 33 years. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that. And what I'm also proud of, man, for those that don't know, man, I'm still excited about recovery. You know, I mean, after 33 years. Look at that smile. I'm still excited about this, man. My family is still excited about me and new possibilities. Man, this is awesome right here. This is awesome what Chef Gregory is doing. You know, I don't know about y'all, but me and John are truly grateful. You know what I mean? Now, somebody is being helped tonight, and I'm grateful for that as well. Thank you, John. I'm your co-host, and one thing I have in me is I have a strong commitment, and I also have some consistency.
Well, I'll tell you what, we both got good consistency. There's no question about that, you know. And I'll tell you something else. To see the sheriff been coming here every week, we're doing this. We do a week here, we do a week out at West, we do the next week here. And Sheriff Gregory, she's been to every one of these. And I keep wondering, I said, she's going to burn out sooner or later. But, you know, me and Marshall, I know we're going to keep coming unless we're traveling. But like I said, I mean, look, fellas, you got to just pay attention. You know, what you hear here, what's going to be said here might really make a difference in somebody's lives. And I know all y'all probably got some family members out there, and you know they pulling for you. You know, when you're doing time in here, remember your family doing time out there. So you know they want you to do well. Don't think they don't. Sheriff, you got any words for us before we get going?
Say good evening again. Hello, up on the catwalk. I'm excited about this opportunity to be able to bring people in front of you is another opportunity to feel better and better and to be able to show the world the best you. And I shared with a young lady the other day that I get to highlight that. Can make you feel as good when you're doing your best and you're taking care of your family. And I want all of you to have that. So I thank John for bringing those folks. I'm going to look at seeing if we can't get and start passing around Johnny McGill's book before he comes to see us, because like it's an awesome book and he shares some things that can help me, help you, help everybody. So thanks, John.
Can't wait till I see Jimmy and tell him the sheriff's starting to quote his book. He's gonna like that because I'll talk to him tonight on the way home. We talk about every other day. Yeah, for my friends watching the show tonight, y'all call Jimmy McGill, let him know that the sheriff up here is quoting him from his book. He gonna love that. Hey, a friend of mine's in town tonight. He came through this very program, in and out of Henrico Jail multiple times, came through the McShin Foundation. He moved to North Carolina, got his life straight, got his own career. He's remarried. He's been a good son, a good father, a good member of the community. But when he found out we were coming in here, he said, man, I'd like to go participate and be part of it. I said, well, come on down. I'm sure the sheriff will let you in. So, Jed, come on down here and say a few words to your alumni. Give Jed a hand from North Carolina.
Hey, everybody. My name's Jed, alcoholic and addict. Met some of you guys earlier. I'm really grateful to be here. Like I was saying earlier, thank you to the sheriff. As she was talking, I was thinking, there's a lot of people out here that care about you guys, whether you know it or not. Another thing that I was always thinking when I was locked up is that all my opportunities were gone. I'm never going to have another opportunity to be successful, to get married, to have kids. And, as they say in the rooms, that's just your stinking thinking. That's a way of thinking about only yourself, not how you can help other people. And a lot of times it's just that simple. You need to experience gratitude. A way to do that is through helping other people, like bringing meetings in here, like the sheriff's doing, participating. I mean, that's a big deal, especially to someone coming back to see that. That means a lot. So anyway, I can't wait to see what's going on, and I'll let John continue on. Thanks.
Thank you, Jed. Give Jed a hand, man. You got to think about that. A lot of y'all going to leave here and you'll say to yourself, I ain't never coming back there. You ain't going to get me back up in there, even when you get your life straight. But that's the transition that takes place from an addict. Remember, our thinking, we're very selfish, self-centered people. We know the only way we're going to stop using drugs is stop using drugs, lose that desire to use drugs, and find a new way to live. And part of that new way to live is to reach back to the people, places, and things your system used to come to and try to share a little bit of hope. Jed's staying clean. He's reaching back. He's thinking of you guys. He came up in here to give you that little hope shot. I hope y'all can appreciate that. It ain't easy, Wife, 3 kids out of town. But that's what's on it. His brain ain't on trying to get drugs. It ain't chasing down, some dummy or cornerback. It's how can I help these folks that've been where I've been and maybe give them a hope shot. Our speaker tonight, a woman that works at McShin, came through the system. She now is one of our correctional facilitators, which means she goes into jails on behalf of McShin and does actual facilitating of groups, brings in speakers. And I used to think for the longest time I was the best facilitator McShin had. My Wednesday group is always packed, standing room only. They say I'm the greatest, but lately I've been hearing that Mandie's groups are better than my groups. So I started sitting in on Mandie's groups here recently. I wonder, what is Mandie doing that I ain't doing, right? Well, I sat in on a couple, and I'm thinking, holy smoke, this woman knows what she's doing. She is a better facilitator than I am. Nicer, too, nicer to look at, and all those things. But let's give a warm welcome for Mandie.
And I learned from the best how to do facilitating. How y'all doing tonight? My name is Mandie Brando, and I'm the Director of Judicial Programs at McShin. So I manage the treatment programs in Richmond City and Pamunkey Regional Jail, of which I am an alumni. I told my dad, I said, my God, I get to speak at Henrico Jail East, because I was down the boulevard was my address. 6A and 6B, I spent a year and a half. I walked out of this facility and up that boulevard for the last time 5 years, 8 months, and 1 day ago. I told my dad, I said, I get to speak at my alma mater. He said, Mandie, every jail in Central Virginia is your alma mater. I'm a person in long-term sustained recovery, which for me means that I have not found it necessary to use drugs or alcohol since April 4th, 2019. Now, thank you. Now that sounds real nice. That's the sort of stuff I say when I'm speaking publicly. But y'all, let's be real. My name is Mandie and I'm an addict. And I like starting like that because that puts us all on the same page. We all speak the same language. We all know what that means to be an addict. We all probably have a lot of the same kind of stories. I know y'all are probably wondering, what is this middle-aged white lady going to tell me with the bright red hair? Anything that I need to hear. Y'all, my stomping grounds were Gilpin Court, Fairfield Court, Randolph. I know the streets too. John was talking about buttercups when he was doing the mic check. I'm gonna talk to y'all about sunflowers. Sunflowers are my thing, my whole car, my office, all of it, sunflowers. I love sunflowers so much because not only are they the tallest of all the flowers, I bet y'all know that sunflowers are called sunflowers because they follow the sun. But y'all know what they do when it's overcast? They face each other. And see, I have this theory that if people were more like sunflowers and tried to reach up and follow the light, but if times got dark, face each other, we might have a lot fewer problems. I know I wouldn't have had addiction, and that's what I want to talk to y'all about tonight for real. Connection. Best place to start any story is at the very beginning. So that's where I'm going to go. I was born in 1979 in Stuttgart, Germany. My father was a sergeant major in the Army. Anybody here know what a sergeant major is? That's the guy. That's the guy that the drill sergeants are afraid of. That is the highest rank you can achieve as an enlisted person. My mom was a teacher. And I'm not going to lie. I grew up in a really nice house with really nice parents. My older brother was perfect. Our house is perfect. We had perfect teeth. We had nice, perfect vacations, nice, perfect Christmas. Our dog was ugly, but no one's perfect. But I grew up real regimented and real structured. Can you imagine a sergeant major and a teacher? But one of my earliest memories was feeling different than, feeling like I wasn't a part of. And this followed me through the rest of my life. I can remember sitting in a whole crowd of people, laughing, talking, and feeling like I was absolutely alone. I felt like a misfit. I didn't fit in anywhere. Now, I went through school, and I went through school well. I graduated high school with something like, they were starting to invent numbers. I graduated with almost a 5.0 GPA. AP honor student, top 10 of my class, got accepted to Virginia Tech. Y'all, my future was so bright, I had to wear shades. And I had three things really going for me. Because, see, I was bullied, like traumatically bullied when I was a little kid. Like I got beat up and, touched in ways that I didn't want to be touched by older boys in the neighborhood. They would pull me off my bike by my hair. They'd throw rocks at me. I didn't know what to do about that. And as painful as all that was physical stuff. You know what really got me? When they invented Ignore Amanda Day in the 5th grade, and I had to sit by myself at lunch every Monday for a month while they laughed and pointed and walked by me and pulled my hair. And that sat on me. I figured, well, there must be something wrong with me. Everybody's in agreement. I really don't fit in. But I had three things. I had my grades. The first time I ever stepped on stage at theater camp and looked out at all those seats and those lights hit me, I thought, I've arrived. This is my calling. And I started getting into theater and acting. And then when I was a little bit older, I got introduced to my youth group at church. And I got real into that. And I had faith, right? Faith in a higher power. And I went off to Virginia Tech hopeful. Man, I'm going to conquer the world. About 3 weeks into my freshman year, an old shoulder injury, I reached up and high-fived someone, and my shoulder dislocated. And I went to the ER, and they relocated my shoulder, and they gave me some Percocet. Okay, which was okay, until 3 weeks later, I dislocated my shoulder again. I was in a room full of people. We were having a little dorm party, right? A lot of people, a lot of noise, a lot of music. Y'all ever seen a movie where it's like the record scratches and everything stops dead? When my shoulder came out, it was kind of like that because you heard this, pop, 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 pow. You heard every ligament popping off my shoulder. And as it came out, the bones collided so hard that it chipped the bone. That was the pow. By the way, if you've never dislocated anything, it hurts. They had to put me out to relocate my shoulder. And when I came to, they said this, you're going to do this every month for the rest of your life unless we operate. And they put me on Percocet. And they kept me on Percocet until I had surgery over Christmas break at college. And then they kept me on Percocet for the next 9 months while I did physical therapy. And see, that wired my brain. That turned my brain on to some opiates. And when I came off that, I looked around at my life and realized I had lost a lot. I was in college. I'm right-handed. I dislocated my right shoulder. I couldn't write. I couldn't take notes. My grades slowly started to plummet. And then I got invited into the dean's office and politely asked to switch my major because I could not do costuming, set design, movement, dance, improv. They wouldn't let me take speech because my instrument was out of tune. I lost my grades. I lost theater. And then I lost my faith. I said, damn, God, why'd you bring me here? Just to drop me? I was mad. And I was now withdrawing from Percocet. And then I met a new group of friends, and they introduced me to a whole new source of connection: marijuana, alcohol, and hallucinogenics. And the party was on. There's a fantastic picture of me at my graduation looking in my diploma to make sure I got my degree, because I came so down to the wire, I might have had to take summer school to actually earn it. I graduated Virginia Tech in 2001, that May, and I went home where I was isolated, where I was alone. And September the 11th happened. Y'all remember? That was 2001. I was fresh out of college, and that week I lost my job. My boyfriend broke up with me, and I found out what happened, and I was on my way to go pick up an application. I went and picked up the application, and on the way home, I bought 2 cases of beer. I sat one next to me, I put one in the fridge, and I started drinking. I don't remember how I got to Virginia Beach exactly, but I am told that I tried to kill myself twice. I felt so alone. And then I met Ted. My friend said, even before I went out with them, be careful, you're gonna meet this dude Ted, watch out for him. The door opened in a crowded bar that we were at, and we locked eyes. It was like electricity. You could hear the music in the background. Da-na-na-na-na. He climbed over a table to sit next to me. I felt so special. I felt seen. I felt connected. The next month, we moved in together. And that week, he introduced me to heroin. You know, I was scared of heroin because they told me you'll get addicted overnight. You'll become a junkie who's homeless and in jail. Let me roll the dice and see. And y'all, it didn't happen overnight. The way that my addiction built was like, we did it on a Friday night. That was fun. And the next weekend, we were like, hey, Friday night again. And then Saturday rolled around the next day. We were like, you know, there's nothing really going on. It's the weekend. So it's Saturday. And then the next week, it was, well, we don't got to work on Sunday either. So it was Sunday. And then the next week, we said, you know, the weekend really starts on Thursday. And then the next week, we were like, Monday sucks. And then the next week, we were like, hump day. We better do something. Celebrate that, right? And then the next week, we were like, God, nothing's going on Tuesdays. It was that quick. Just over a month. And I had me a daily habit. And then someone came to me and said, you know, you're wasting that by sniffing it. I mean, if you really want to bang for the buck, here's a needle. Then a few weeks later, we were sitting in our dealer's house, and this dude was sitting on the couch. He was smoking something. And I was like, oh my God, what's that? He said, it's crack, baby. You want to try it? First time's free. He literally said that. I know now why, because one weekend and $600 later, he had his best customer. I'm going to be honest with y'all. The next several years of my life are kind of a blur. I don't really remember a whole lot. I can give you a few basic things. I keep threatening that I'm going to run for political office. I just want to see what dirt they dig up on me so I can, you know, like piece together my 20s and 30s. But I can tell you this. Heroin was a daily thing. I was terrified of getting sick. Crack was one of those things that I used occasionally, but I would start off, it's just going to be $30. 4 days later, I'd look up like, where am I? There wasn't nothing I wouldn't try. I became a daredevil. I got arrested 13 times, incarcerated 8 of those 13 times by the last time I looked at my criminal record. Totaled 3 cars, had 6 opiate and fentanyl overdoses. Did y'all know you can overdose on stimulants too? Yeah, you can. I proved that one because I had 2 drug-induced heart attacks. I had CPS come get in my life about 4 times. See, Ted and I broke up. We could not handle each other. Fire and gasoline, that's right. We broke up to save the friendship, and sure enough, we did become best friends. But I don't know, impulsiveness is kind of like a theme in my story, because 6 months later, I met a dude, brand new at work. They said, hey, can you train this guy? So I met him in January. We had our first date in February. We got engaged in March, and we're married by April. Yeah. 1 year later, I had a baby. I went quick. And then one day I'm looking around going, how did this happen? In 2014, I got arrested in Henrico. I had already been working on 2 years on the installment plan over at Richmond. I decided to try a new area. Henrico didn't like me either. My lawyer said, based on your record and guidelines, you'll probably do about 6 to 9 months. When I stood in front of the judge and he looked me dead in the eyes and said, I don't care what you're doing, I care what you did, and pronounced 10 years over me, I thought I was going to pass out. I was not prepared for that. I almost missed the next part of his statement, which was 8 years, 8 months suspended. But now I'm trying to do math and I'm real freaked out. I'm like, wait, how much time is that? And then I had to realize I also violated my probation. I was going to get that paperwork in the mail, get extra time tacked on for that. By the time it was all said and done, I served about 1.5 years here between West and East. Although I will tell you, I only spent about a month at West. I was like, I got to get up out of here. There's a different facility. I'll try that one. So I graduated the RISE program, and I will tell you the entire reason I graduated the RISE program is because they told me if I did that, I would get an in-person visit with my children, who at the time were 4 and 11. Actually, maybe even younger. Yeah, 8 and 3. I swore I was never going to go back to jail again. I had 11 months clean prior to walking into this facility. I didn't believe them at the meetings when they said alcohol is a drug. That didn't work out good. And when I got out of here, I managed to maintain not using the hard stuff for a few months. Had almost 3 years off the hard stuff when alcohol took me right on back. Not only was I drinking alcoholically, it was a very impulsive decision. My friend said, I'm bored. I said, me too. He said, let's go. And we were gone. I had to go back out and do some more research. Let me tell you about the tail end of my addiction, because this is the real important part. This is the part I want y'all to hear, how you go from your entire adult life using and being fully invested in that life to not. In 2017, my dude said, this stuff's strong, girl. Be careful. I said, well, I'll take it home and do it. And I did. And I opened it up and I said, it looks a little weird. And I did a little and I was like, I did the whole rest of the bag. My son, who was 11, found me dead on the bathroom floor. Blue. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember that day very well after I did that last bit. But I will tell you the one thing that cut through that fog was my 11-year-old son in tears, looking at the EMT saying, is my mommy going to be okay? And the EMT didn't know how to answer. I got this image of my kids in little black suits standing in front of my coffin, and I swore I would never do heroin again. But I didn't say nothing about nothing else. September of 2018, I went on a 4-day bender. At the end of that, I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what day or month it was. I wasn't real clear on the year, and I couldn't quite pinpoint me. I created what they call a drug-induced psychosis. And I spent 2 weeks in a psych ward trying to stabilize me to get me to stop hearing voices and seeing stuff. The after effects of that lasted another year. It wasn't enough. Because every bottom I set for myself had a trap door. The next month, October 30th, 2018, I got jumped and beat up bad. At least the dude called his girlfriend down to beat me up. I mean, that was a nice gesture. The next day was Halloween, because see, getting jumped and beat up and robbed was not enough to send me home, much less make me quit. Which is why on October 30th, Halloween, I got pulled over. I was sitting in the passenger seat of my own car asleep, and they said, we're getting pulled over. And I said, where are we? They said Mechanicsville. I said, where is that? Didn't even know how I got there. And that's why I have a black eye in my mugshot for Hanover County at Pamunkey Regional Jail. Do y'all remember I had 10 years over my head? I still had a chunk of that time hanging out right there. So when the Commonwealth's attorney came to me and said, if you plead guilty, we'll give you 6 months, I thought, yeah, deal. For sure 6 months versus possible 8 years, I'll take it. April the 3rd, 2019. My dealer did not have enough of the crack I asked for, and he presented me with a bag of heroin. And I did it. I didn't OD, thank God. But I have never felt like a bigger piece of crap in my life. I broke a promise to my kids, I broke a promise to myself, and all I could think on my drive home after that binge was, what if? What if I got arrested again? What if I crashed my car? What if I had OD'd and all I could think of was my 2 boys in little black suits in front of my coffin? Some people are going to tell you that they came into this program on their knees. They mean that metaphorically. No, I mean it literally, because I got home after that and I literally hit my knees and said, this is too big for me. I clearly don't have no control. I have tried to figure out a way to use successfully for the past 20 years, and I ain't found one yet. My way is not working. I said, God, please take this off of me. I don't want it anymore, and I clearly am not equipped to do it. That night, I went to my first NA meeting back because I had tried the program my way. My way got me jails, institutions, and quite literally death. I wrote down what I shared at that first meeting back, and I posted it on my bed for my first year of recovery, and this is it. My name is Mandie. I'm an addict, and I am broken. I am shattered, and I'm going to die. At this point, I will do whatever you tell me to do if it means I don't have to go back out there and live like that. If you tell me to walk on broken glass, I will take off my shoes this moment and do it. Please don't let me die. When they talk about open-minded and willing, that's what they mean. And you know what? Nobody broke out the broken glass. Nobody broke out some bottles and then crunched them up and said, here you go, walk on broken glass. They didn't say that. They said, we need you to do a few simple things, take our suggestions, and you don't ever have to go back out there again. So I dove in. But y'all remember, I still had to go to jail for that charge back in October. I woke up April 4th clean. And when I walked into Pamunkey Regional on June 26th, I was still clean. Up to that point, I had done 24 clinical treatment programs between detox, psychiatric health, inpatient, and outpatient. 24. They would bring in this young college student. She was so cute. She'd have glasses. She'd be like, oh my God, so Freud says, tell me about your childhood. Okay, all right, yeah. Clearly, you don't know anything about where I've been, who I am, or what I have gone through. Shut up with your textbooks. Because in NA, they have this saying. They say, it's available to us all. And I sat in meetings for years and said, it might be available to you all, but clearly something ain't working for me. Maybe I'm just sicker than the rest. I don't know. At Pamunkey, I made a really good friend. And she said, oh my God, there's this thing called the McShin program. And I was like, please miss me with that. I want nothing to do with another treatment program where they're going to teach me stuff out of a textbook. Tell me how to get better. She said, well, I'm going and they bring you donuts. And I said, donuts? I said, you gonna leave me alone and go eat donuts without me? I don't think so. I'm gonna be honest, I did not have pure intentions when I joined that program. But people like John and Cricket, who you've seen, came in there and looked at me and said, it is available to us all because if I can do it, you can do it. And that was the first time I heard that message. It was the first time I believed because, like me, Cricket could look and say, that was my cell, that was my bunk. And I did it anyways. I was sitting in Pamunkey Regional prior to going into the McShin program, and I turned 40 years old. If you haven't hit your 40th birthday yet, that's the day when you kind of sit back and reflect. You're about halfway through life now. If you think lifespan about 80, you're halfway through. What have I done with my life? I took a tally. I had 2 beautiful children I was visiting through plate glass. I had a degree I couldn't use. I had lost my career as a teacher because they will not license me in the state of Virginia with 7 felonies. I looked around and I thought, I don't like what I've accomplished so far at all. And then I heard, if you want something different, you gotta do something different. The next week, I found my first gray hair. I wasn't okay with that either. It solidified my recovery. Because that moment of surrender is powerful. That spiritual experience where you give it up. I bet some of you in here have had that. That's great. It's not going to carry you through early recovery. If you want something different, you got to do something different. So for the first time, I got released from jail, and I planned my release date out, hour by hour. Probation office, Social Security, DMV, and I scheduled a meeting for my day out. I had a sponsor. I started working some steps. They were talking about it earlier, how selfish and self-absorbed we are in addiction. I found service. Took me outside of myself. Got me thinking about other people. I didn't have to walk on broken glass. I just had to take some suggestions. That's not easy, but it's doable. I did not have lofty ambitions or goals when I walked out of jail. I thought it sure would be nice if I didn't mess this up too bad and go back. I'd like to hold down a job for longer than 30 seconds. That'd be pretty cool. So I got a part-time job working at an auto parts store. I'm a car nut. And then they said, hey, you're really good at this. You show up. Would you like to work full-time? So then I worked full-time. After about 6 more months, I thought, hey, I still have a little time on my hands. I went back to school to become a substance abuse counselor. A few months passed, and I heard about this thing called PRS training. I was like, well, that sounds pretty cool. I'd like to try that. And I did PRS training. At the end of that, they said, you need 500 volunteer hours to get certified. I knew exactly where to go. I went to McShin. I said, do y'all remember me? Because I was in your program at Pamunkey. And they said, yes, we do. And they let me do my internship hours there. I tell you that to tell you this. We, as addicts, we tend to jump in both feet first and take on the world. We are some motivated, ambitious people, and that's awesome. But if you're anything like me, I tend to take on too much all at once, overwhelm myself, get stressed, not know how to handle it, and relapse. If you want something different, you have to do something different. So I took baby steps. I built on small successes. I don't think there's anybody in here who could leap from that bottom step to that top step in one bound. You have to take it one at a time. I took baby steps. If you think you can't get a job as a felon, you would be wrong. You can. I and put together. Y'all have come a long way. Those are gifts of recovery. John was talking about it. We got a big house. I got a nice, pretty car. Those are gifts for me doing something different. But let me tell you about some other gifts that I've received. I got to watch my son play soccer this weekend. I got to watch my other son be a starting pitcher on the baseball team this summer. This morning, I woke up with my 11-year-old hugging me, saying, "Mommy, I just wanted to say good morning before I go to school." My dad let me borrow his brand new truck yesterday. He just gave me the keys. Here you go. Don't smoke in my truck, he said. Done. He didn't ask me where I was going, what time I was going to be home. This is a man who used to lock up his stuff, his wallet, my mom's purse, if I was in the house. He would lock up my car keys. He was scared what I would do with $5. Today, he'll hand me a 20. Here you go. Take the kids out. That's a gift. They trust me. If you don't understand the significance of my dad loaning me his car, my very first arrest was when my mother had me arrested for stealing her car. I feel like a whole Virginia Slims commercial. We've come a long way, baby. About 10 years ago, maybe 12, again, it's kind of fuzzy. I was in some legal trouble again. My PO and my lawyer got together and said, maybe if we got her into treatment again, maybe the judge would look nicely upon her again. So they contacted my local community services board again and said, hey, can she come to treatment with y'all again? My local community services board responded like this: we have treated Ms. Brando previously to seemingly no avail. We would prefer to divert our resources to someone we feel we could actually help. Ms. Brando is a lost cause. Now, looking back on that, I have to tell you, I kind of think of like having a little addiction devil over here on this shoulder and like a little recovery angel on this shoulder, you know, like they show in the movies. That little addiction devil said, lost cause, hold my beer. Let me show you what a lost cause really looks like. But I'm going to tell you, that little recovery angel, she weren't on my shoulder yet. She was somewhere buried deep, deep inside of me, wherever whatever was left of Mandie existed outside of drugs. It wasn't much. But I'm going to tell you, she howled. She said, you are not a lost cause. Someday you're going to beat this. Someday you're going to beat this. And when you do, you are going to come back and tell the whole world there is no such thing as a lost cause. Because I promise you, when I walked out those doors on February the 16th, 2017, there were deputies who told me, you'll be back. They were right in a sense, just not here. I found connection. Because that's where it all started for me. I lost everything that made me feel connected to anything. I lost my faith. I lost my studies. I lost my friends in theater. I lost everything that made me feel connected. I thought I found it in drugs and on the street. But if y'all think I fit in Gilpin Court, you would be wrong. I thought I found my tribe. I was wrong. At one point here in this jail, just up the boulevard at 6, I remember thinking, maybe this is just it for me. Maybe I'm just meant for this. Maybe I belong in jail. Because out there, I can't cut it. Out there, I'm sick. Out there, I am friendless. I am hopeless. Can't hold down a job. Piss everybody off. In here, I take on leadership positions. I'm a model inmate. I have friends. I'm liked. I'm respected. I'm almost happy. It was kind of a frightening moment. And I went to the phone and I called my dad and I said, Dad, I think this is just it for me. I think this is where I should be. Bless my father. Because he said, did it ever occur to you that the reason you are happy and doing so well is because you are clean and not because you're incarcerated? Duh. He made a good point. And that was when I realized, I sat on that and I thought about that. Like it sat on me. And then I realized there are two types of freedom. Maya Angelou wrote a poem, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. She was talking about spiritual freedom, mental freedom, emotional freedom. And I realized that when I was on the street with physical freedom, I ain't have that. I was in a prison. I was locked up by my addiction. I ain't have no freedom because it controlled me just as sure as the deputies did here. Maybe I was used to being controlled. We do get institutionalized. The goal is to match up spiritual freedom with physical freedom. To walk out those doors and not recreate your own prison. In order to do that, you are going to need connection. There is not a single pathway that says, sit by yourself and do this on your own. NA and AA are called fellowships for a reason. You celebrate recovery, you're going to go sit in a room with a bunch of people. You're going to have a large group, you're going to have a small group, you're going to get connected. You do Dharma recovery, you don't sit by yourself. You sit with other people and go, Om, and then you talk about it. If spirituality isn't your thing, if you go to smart recovery, you're going to sit in a room with other people and work on worksheets, and then you're going to talk about them. Connection. Because we tell you people, places, and things, people, places, and things. Y'all have heard that, right? You got to change your people, places, and things. Does anybody ever bother to tell you what to replace them with? Because when you get rid of those people, places, and things, you leave a vacuum in your life. You better fill it with something. New people, new places, new things. If you want something different, you have to do something different. By show of hands, how many of you love your stay here at Henrico East? We have 2 unicorns. And that's no offense to you. It's actually a really nice facility compared to some of the others. But it's my thought that nobody is truly happy locked up. Nobody wants to be in a cage. Back in the 70s, they did this experiment, right? They put rats in a cage and they gave them 2 bottles of water. They laced one with drugs and they switched the drugs up. Just in case you were wondering, sometimes it was laced with diamorphine, sometimes it was laced with cocaine. Diamorphine is pure heroin. And then they put a regular bottle of water in. Do you know what the rats did, hands down to a T, nearly 100% of the time? They drank the drug water compulsively and OD'd and died. This was almost every rat. And then a guy came along and he said, but wait, they in a cage by themselves. They don't have anything to do. They don't have no other rats in there with them. No wonder. So he built something called Rat Park. And he gave them lots of tunnels and lots of little colored balls and lots of cheese and lots of other rats. Rats are a lot like humans. You might not want to think like that, but they are. There's a reason they experiment on them. They put the drug water in Rat Park, and they put regular water in Rat Park. Not one rat, not one OD'd and died. Not one used it compulsively. Addiction isn't about your drug, whatever drug that may be. It is about your cage. It is about connection. I always start my story off letting you know that one of my earliest memories is I felt disconnected. It's been my experience that most of us feel that way at some point. Get connected. That's why we call this Get in the Herd. Get in the herd, y'all. Find the right ones. You want to find the right ones? If you're into 12 steps, find a book study. Those are the people who take it serious. By the way, my home group is a book study. We have 2 meetings a week. One of them is a book study. Those of you who are wondering, how do I find a sponsor? That's a good start. Even if 12 steps ain't your thing, get connected with something. Find some pathway. When you pick your pathway, follow it. Because for years I tried, but I wasn't willing to go the lengths. I wasn't willing to do it their way. I tried it my way. My way got me here. If you want something different, you have to do something different. Radically different. They're going to tell you, you'll hear it. You've probably heard it before. You can only get clean for yourself. That's a lie. You can only stay clean for yourself. Those are 2 different things, getting clean and staying clean. I'm going to be honest. When I got into recovery, I didn't like me well enough to get clean for me. I didn't think I was worth it. I didn't care if I lived or died, really. But I did care about my boys. I cared about my parents. I cared about my friends. So I got clean for them. Wasn't gonna stay that way. Eventually, you get to the point where you can stay clean for you. That takes a little bit of work. That takes some healing. That takes an inside process. And it's not an easy process. I'm not gonna blow sunshine up your butts. It's not easy, but it's worth it. I like drugs. They were fun. They made me feel good. I liked the lifestyle that went along with it. I thought it was exciting. I can go my whole life without that kind of excitement today. Craziest thing, y'all. Since I got clean, I haven't been arrested one time. Oh my God. Since I got clean, I haven't had a gun held on me at all. I haven't been jumped, mugged, beat up, or beat down. Duh. I couldn't figure it out when my dad kept saying, if you don't like jail, stop going. I was like, but I can't help it. They keep arresting me. Duh. If you want something different, you have to do something radically different. That's not easy. For me to give up drugs, which I quite enjoyed, you're going to have to give me something not even as good as, you're going to have to give me something better. I got that today. I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do isn't look over on my bedside table to see what substance I have left over from last night. The first thing I do isn't make a phone call to see where to get money or where to score. That's freedom. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh my God, I get to be me today. I never knew I could be happy, like legitimately happy without a substance. I have a job I love, and honestly, I have a job I need. Because me, I would get out of jail and walk 3 blocks and go do the exact same thing that got me locked up in the first place the day of. You ever had to stand in front of a judge twice in the same week? They don't like that. They won't give you bond. I know. I didn't get bond. But today, I do something different. The last time I got released, I did something different. That free air is going to hit you different. Be prepared. You're going to get all kinds of freedom you haven't had. That's okay. I need my job because 5 days a week, I walk into a jail and I hear those doors clang shut behind me. I hear the dropping of the keys. I smell y'all's lunch. I'm sorry. But the cool thing, the first time I ever volunteered at Pamunkey Regional, I walked out. They let me out, y'all. They let me out that day. And then I went to the car and I called my dad and I said, Daddy, they let me out. He said, you mean I don't have to come get you? But I need a daily reminder for real why I keep this lifestyle. I put my recovery first. Somebody once said to me at my job when I was working at Advanced Auto, said, you mean you put recovery first in front of your kids? I said, yup. Because without recovery, I don't have my kids. Without recovery, I don't have a house. I don't have a car. I don't have this job. I don't have freedom. I don't have my life. If you don't put your recovery first, your addiction will gladly take its place. I know this program is available to us all. I know that if I can do this, each and every one of you can do this. I am the lost cause. And I'm here to tell you there ain't no such thing. Thanks for letting me share, y'all. Questions, comments, concerns?
Good job. Give her
Thank
another
you.
hand. I tell you, Mandy got a lot of energy. You should see her in the work site, man. I mean, she's just incredible, man. We're really glad you're with us.
It's late, I'm tired.
Huh?
I haven't had enough coffee, I'm tired.
Well, look, she hit on connection. Connection's important. You know, we got to have something. She didn't take it back to that rat park. There was some good-looking rats they put in there. You know what I mean? They had some fine cheese in there, all right? See, in society, when you get out, if you got something better than drug use and coming back to jail, you're going to hook up with that. It's out there. But you got to go look for it. You got to put the energy into it. You got to do the work. You know, Grateful Rob always said, you got to do the work. You know, he used to give me crap all the time. John, you always make me do the work. I said, that's exactly right. You got to do the work. Mandie did the work. Marshall did the work. Jed did the work. And the work ain't that bad. The work to do to get successful recovery is easier than the work to do when you do time. Think about it. The easier, softer way really is to stay clean and sober and do the right thing. It really ain't that hard once you get a rhythm going. And then once you get used to it, that's when the recovery high is obviously better than the drug high. You know, this is real simple stuff. You get what you get when you do what you do. You do active addiction-related stuff, you get active addiction-related results. You do recovery-related stuff, you get recovery-related results. Y'all still got time to have the rest of your life can be a good quality life in recovery. If addiction's your problem and you continue to use, you're going to continue to have these problems. And that stuff out there now in the streets ain't no game. You hear how bad fentanyl is, right? Well, they got stuff worse than fentanyl out there now.
Nitazines.
And they are testing for it. And at McShin, people are coming in testing positive for that new drug out there. And it ain't going to end good. If fentanyl is playing Russian roulette with a 45, what do you think that other stuff is? Anyways, we're glad you're here tonight. Any closing words, Marshall?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm good. Yeah, my closing
You got to hold
words
both mics now. One for them, one for the Facebook. You need both. That's the Facebook one.
My closing words are for Mandie. Thank you for sharing, Mandie. You know, thank you for sharing.
Love you.
It was very heartfelt, you know. And again, what my takeaway from John is everybody got an opportunity to get their head in the game. You know, forget what you did yesterday, how you thought yesterday, what's gonna happen today. You still got an opportunity to get your head in the game. You know, we'll be back next week again.
2 weeks here, next week at West.
Yeah.
They're raising their
Again, we
hands
can be
up there.
consistent. We
They're
gonna be
raising their
consistent with this
hands.
thing and try to help somebody.
A quick question up top.
My name is Derek. I'm an
Hey, Barry.
Hey,
Man,
I just want to know, like, I've been in hiding since I was 15 years old. And I begged to come to this program because I heard so much about it. I feel like this is the only way I'm going to be successful if I complete this program. If I don't do this, I feel like my life coming to an end. So I feel like I got to do this because I don't have no other way of getting my life together. So I'm asking, how did you stay focused on everything out there seems like is a target and coming at you?
how did I stay
focus
focused?
in recovery.
Coming against you.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Maintain and focus. Because we rewire our brains in addiction, right? So that's our default. So just like I was saying, in order to get something different, I had to do some different things. Rule number one, just don't use no matter what. If I don't use, I will change. If I don't change, I will use. So I stayed my focus in reminding myself I had something to live for and I didn't want to die. And then I used my connection when stuff goes down, because life's still going to happen to you in recovery. Life's still going to happen. And you don't have to deal with it without running away and hiding in the drugs. So I got into a habit. These are what I call the habits born of desperation, because I came in desperate, and it sounds like you're there. Because I came in desperate and took those suggestions, they said do 90 meetings in 90 days. I'm an overachiever, y'all. I did 120. They said get a sponsor. I got one the following week. They said get a home group. I got one that night. They said get phone numbers and use them. I did that too. And what I found was when stuff happened, even when I couldn't keep the focus, I had a team of support around me who's going to help keep me focused, was going to keep reminding me. For those of you out there, and I know it's a bunch of you who are nervous about calling someone who's a complete stranger, I have a suggestion. I'm not ever going to tell y'all what to do. I'm just going to tell you what I did, and it worked for me. See, I got the phone numbers, and I was the one who I would go to the meeting, and I would get 20 phone numbers and never call. Get a phone number. Start calling them immediately. It's so much easier to call someone when your ass ain't on fire. Just start calling. All you got to do is pick up the phone and say, hey, my name is, and I met you last night. And then shut up. We'll take it from there. You ain't got to figure out what to talk about with a complete stranger. I know what to talk about with you. They're going to know what to talk about with you. And if that phone call don't work out, don't call that number back. Call another one. Call the next one. And that way you build relationships. Because in drugs, do y'all really have good relationships? I used to say about my friends, I can trust them with my life, but not my wallet. Sure, they would call the EMTs when I OD'd, but I would wake up broke. You need the relationships, and it's so much easier to do that before you need them. So if you want to keep your focus, remember the negative consequences. Keep this thought close and let other people help keep you focused. Ask for the help. That's why I still go to meetings. I can go to a meeting and say, oh my God, my life is falling apart. I have all this going on. Last October, my mom had a cancer diagnosis. One of my kids was chronically ill, and then my best friend died. And I sat in a meeting and I wept. And I said, I don't know what to do. I know what I could do, but I don't think that's a good idea. Y'all got to help me. And they did. They did. So if you want to stay that focus, something that's going to come from you, you got to put in the work. You're only going to get out of this what you put into it. But let other people help guide you. People who've been there a minute. You're welcome.
I want to give her a hand. That's big. I want to add a little value to this question. You know, my best thinking got me into recovery. My thinking was broke. But when I got here, I realized I'm one of those few people that understood that one was too many and 1,000 will never going to be enough. And one drug was going to lead to another drug. But as long as I didn't take that first one, I had a chance to make a good choice. But the minute I took that first anything, I no longer had a chance to make a good choice because all my choices were going to be get more. That's the kind of addict I was when I was in active addiction. But why did I stay like Rat Park? I wanted the girl. I wanted to make money. I wanted to have a life. I would never have none of those things if I kept using. So I'm a prize-oriented person. If I'm going to do the work, I want to know what the prize is, and I believed in the prize. And Yeah, it sucked at first. It ain't easy staying clean when you don't want to. When you're on in the Marine Corps barracks with 85 guys smoking weed, dropping acid, drinking liquor, and I'm the only one that can't do it. If I get on a troop transport ship of 400 Marines and sailors and 395 are smoking weed, drinking liquor, dropping acid, it's hard to say no. But I knew I was one of those people. One's too many, 1,000 never enough. Jails, institutions, and death. I better punch through early recovery and get to that recovery high, find out what these old timers are talking about. That's kind of my story. I saw a hand up over there.
Wait a minute, John. Wait a minute. I want to add some more to his question.
Okay.
I think that was
Yeah, you work with him.
What Mandy mentioned earlier, what I think also, leaving here, going somewhere, trying to get yourself together, requires a commitment. It takes a commitment. You know, that same question, you know, and this is me thinking, if I had somebody that came out of jail and I was sponsoring them, and that question that you asked, I would tell them, go to 10 meetings and ask 10 different people that same question. Because I know for me, my reality was all out of whack when I got out of jail, right? When I started to listening to people and started listening to suggestions, my perspective changed. You know, everybody that you think may be putting a target on your back, it may not be right. You know what I mean? You might think when I come to jail, the sheriff got a target on my back. And I'm here to tell you that's not the case. The sheriff is here trying to help. And it may be, you may be wrong. You know, this is what I found out in recovery. You know, there are a lot of things I thought I was right about, I was wrong about. You know, and today I can accept that when I'm wrong. You know.
Hey, go down there so you can hear what they're saying.
Hey, John. Hi, Sean.
Amanda, I really appreciate your story.
Thank you.
You know, that's me in a nutshell. I really like to work with you. You know what I mean? You put that in perspective, and you're a woman.
Oh, let him hang on to that for a sec. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the Facebook line, so people can hear you. But they can't need that for the audio. They need both. Oh, okay. That's a two-mic show, baby.
So I say that to say this, right? I came back in this program. I've been to this program plenty of times. And I found myself being selfish down in another way. I've been in and out of recovery my whole life. John knows me. Jed knows me. I grew up in foster family. I didn't have a lot of people to love me. It was hard for me to open up. And I talked to John about that, you know what I'm saying? I checked. This is what it is. I wasn't able to take some suggestions each and every time. I worked for the county, Sheriff Gregory knows me. I made a dumbass decision in 2021. I worked for the public utilities department. It's like it sucked the fucking life out of me. For real. With the sheriff. I never had to talk to the sheriff. This is my opportunity right now. Now, I had a situation at the county, and during the time, you know, COVID had hit pretty bad. So they, you know, we couldn't go to meetings. John, you know, I used to come to McShin. I'm just sharing this story because it's real, man. I worked for the Public Utilities Department. I got it through orbit. I worked there for 8 months. I went to meetings. I stayed clean I stayed there 3.5 years. I stayed clean. It was a lot all the way down to the line. I didn't even use that shit. She felt this music. You're like, damn, you ain't using nothing? No. I don't want that shit. And it's crazy because they push that towards you. They push the Suboxone towards you. And for a dope blocker or whatever you want to call it, And to me, it's just another addiction, you know what I'm saying? It's like putting off the addiction that you had onto a legal addiction. And you're not really dealing with the purpose at hand, you know what I mean? I had to find myself. And I share, like I said, I share this with everybody. You gotta stay connected, you gotta be in the network. You can't just come to the meeting and listen to the meeting and then leave early. You gotta come early, stay there. It's like Josh said. John, you always said it. You always said stay in the herd. You did. A couple times I was in the parking lot, smoking cigarettes. I said, how the hell you gonna get recovery out of the parking lot? Smoking cigarettes. Leaving me, now listen. Everything he said was valid. Now, I don't think these recovery outs got kicked out for the simplest rule. That's what I'm explaining to these guys here. I take the littlest shit and I blow that shit up to where it's like. Now, somebody could be dying over there, I don't give a damn. But something small happened over here, like somebody took a pack of cigarettes, and I'm all out, I've been out of shape, man. But I made that decision that day, and going back to the county job, I made that decision that day, man. I had a bad day. You know, in the, how do I say this? The thought of failure. I had a supervisor at work. He was a McShin dude. Nothing against the McShin dude. It was about the time the PD wave money was coming out. So me and the guy would have a conversation with some other guys that, but man, this is cool, man. Money from Donald Trump. You know, look, I don't need that.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
Yeah.
He said, Donald Trump, man, he's Mexican. Come over here, take jobs, take them. That's what he said. I said, whoa, dude, going way out. So anyway, to make a long story short, the supervisor went and told my other supervisor that I said a racial comment to them, not like that. Now, the people that work for the county, they know the American way, and the Henrico way, that's what it is. That's what we live by. That's what they live by. I talked to the county supervisor. I actually worked on the county supervisor's parents' house at a water main break. McCoy House, some of y'all know him. Out there doing great. He gave me actually a $2 raise. I went in front of the judge down in Winter City Jail, and she suspended all of my time for a whole 4 ounces of crack that we found on the side of J.E.
Oh, hey, kind of hurry it up.
So, to make a long story, I mean, y'all laughing, this is real. To make a long story short, man, I got overwhelmed. I took a piece of tobacco, because they pushed that shit into mental health. And my ass got so high. And Chief Phil actually was talking, hey, you know what, this is the best you've ever done in your life. I never seen you do this shit. I mean, I'm waving off.
So one's too many, 1,000 never enough.
Right.
It opened it up all over again.
Yeah, right.
And it's kind of a PG meeting, by the way, too. So, therefore.
You know what I'm saying? So I go upstairs and I be honest about the situation. But by me getting high and in my active addiction, we used to put the shit in my sock. Crack on there with it. That's what I did. So when they strip searched me, now some shit, and I had to admit what I did. So I can, and that's what it is. So I got my time. But, you know, I felt really sorry about that and I had to deal with that. So that's why I did a lot of work on myself. And I said, you know what, you dumbass, you would never thought that you would be a failure in this long that in this situation that I did. So it's all about just simple rules, man, like the simple rules we have with something about it. It only takes one little slip up to ask you that again. And it's just as easy as making your bed. Like here, the rules we got here is a simple rule that you have to follow. It's like a simple rule that you have to follow outside. You ask them to come back in.
All right.
Before the 60, you're doing it just as long as you have. And I commend you for giving me this support.
Thank you.
I got one last quick thing. I totally forgot to mention something, y'all. This facility, I wrote a whole book while I was here. It's published. If y'all are ever interested in reading about someone who has actually been in here with y'all, it's called State Blues. is by Mandie Brando. I use my government name for that one.
You got any copies? Where they at?
I didn't know if I was allowed to bring anything
We'll bring
in.
one. We'll bring one. If you got one, we'll bring one in next time we come.
Awesome. So don't judge me too harshly, y'all. I wrote
All
from
right.
y'all's perspective. I wasn't perfect, still not, but here you go. Thank you.
Yeah, we about out of time. Sheriff, you got anything for us before we close?
As I hope you all get out of this. For me, it is about the connections, like what Mandie said, the connections. I am praying that you are able to make connections while you're in here that will not only help you get through this time, but will help you to migrate back into society and keep what you started working on. So it is truly, I will do whatever within my power to bring whatever connections you need in here to you so that we're prepared to be the best that we can be when we go out into the community. So again, thank you, John. Thank you, Mandie. Thank you, Marshall, our IT folks. Thanks for coming back to share. This is what it's all about. This is, now mind you, I've seen the best of times and the worst of times with him. And it's always so good to see the best of you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, y'all. We're a good audience tonight. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks.
All right.
Stay out of trouble till then.